Welcome back, everybody, to my Building and Scaling Your Virtual Team, Powerful Strategies for Thriving in Online Business Summit. My name is Kate Schroeder, and by formal training, I am a clinical mental health therapist in private practice in St. Louis, Missouri. I also am the owner and CEO of a high-performance-based coaching program called The Right Type, which is all about helping businesses and leaders maximize their teams in order to accelerate their results. And a parallel that I've always known, but have really begun to see prevalent in both therapy and my coaching practices is how much someone's career, the way we spend our time, the work that we do, how much that influences their mental health and well-being. And about 2 months ago now, when all of this pandemic stuff started closing things down and more people started working remotely, once we got past that sort of initial transition into the remote work world, I've began to start noticing and hearing an obvious change in people's levels of happiness and satisfaction, as many people were better able to tailor their work styles to their own individual needs and approach as this remote work began. And the funny thing was, this is the part that tickles me the most, is it didn't take a whole lot of money or resources to really shift people's levels of happiness and satisfaction in their work. In this case, it was just these tweaks, right? It was a reshuffling, a necessary reshuffling of this traditional work paradigm that really began to free up people's energy and just flat out make them happier. And so that's when something clicked, because for me, it's always been my mission to support entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders in restructuring the way they do business so that they maximize their team, accelerate results by having more happy, satisfied, and efficient, productive people working on their teams. And so that's when all of this converged and the Summit Speaker Series came into creation. I wanted to create an epic multi-day summit jam-packed with experts just talking about all kinds of powerful strategies businesses need to thrive in the online and remote business world, because it is a little different than a brick and mortar business. So this speaker series is the straight-up resource for actionable advice, tips, tools, powerful shifts, and strategies that are going to help you take yourself one step closer to maximizing your business and accelerating profits. So let's make a deal, okay? I'm going to commit to you to keep bringing you powerful and amazing business leaders and experts. And on your end, I want you to commit to taking one action after listening to this interview today. That sound okay? I know I'm in. So today, I'm super excited to tell you about our speaker. We're going to be speaking with a virtual bookkeeper who's going to talk about this idea of counting in the cloud, right? So establishing your financial back office and the practice of moving all of your financial functions of the business completely to the cloud. She likes to say, there's an app for that. There's always an app for that. Whatever the financial situation your business faces, with a proper app stack, you can seamlessly manage those financial tasks from things like bookkeeping, payroll, invoicing, reporting, etc., online in the cloud. She's also going to talk to us about this idea of fractional team building, which is really a neat concept that's emerging in the online business world around the idea of hiring more specific industry experts as opposed to generalists. And so I'm really excited about today's conversation. And I'm your host, Kate Schroeder. And so let me introduce you to Kate Johnson. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Kate.
Yes,
exactly. Better than that.
That's right. That's right. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Kate. Kate is the owner of Heritage Business Services, which her mission is helping small business owners and hustling entrepreneurs build a business legacy on a really strong financial foundation. As far as credentials go, she's got an MBA from the Yale School of Management, a BA in economics from Baylor University. She's also a QuickBooks Online Advanced Pro Advisor. And she worked in corporate finance before opting to become a stay-at-home mom for a few years when her first child was born. So we're really excited to have her here. She believes in so many cool things about moving finances to the cloud, the fractional team. There's just so much we're going to cover and talk about today. And I'm really excited that you're here, Kate. So welcome to this Expert Summit. I appreciate your time and being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Totally my pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And I look forward to meeting virtually a lot of the participants in this conference and hopefully bring in a lot of value.
Absolutely. One of the things about Kate, she says she's a morning person. She says that she gets more done by 7 a.m. than most people get done all day long. And so we're really excited to have you here because I would imagine that in your industry, that's probably a valuable thing is to get up and hit the ground running. I think about the stock market, everything opens up early. So let's start a little bit by telling us a little bit about your story and how you got here to Heritage Business, doing the virtual bookkeeping online and all of that.
Sure. Well, yeah, you kind of gave the background a little bit. I worked in corporate finance after graduate school and loved it. And I had a slight personal issue where I married a man in the Navy, and ExxonMobil didn't have offices co-located with any military base. So that kind of had to come to an end. ExxonMobil wasn't at that point in time in the mid 2000s, very traditional company. They weren't super flexible with their HR practices. They did as much as they could. I was actually, for being as new as I was to the company, I was able to work 1 week on, 1 week at home.
Oh, that's great.
But that was commuting from California back to Houston. So not sustainable. And, did that for a while, but life takes its turns and I don't regret any of it, but I have three kids, 2 biological kids and 1 adopted kid, and they're all less than 3 years apart. So I kind of was drinking from the fire hose for a while, but had, saw on the horizon that I would start to have time on my hands that as they were starting to get to school. They're still young, but I slowly built my business in a way that worked for my family. And I've been doing it about 3 years now, and serve a variety of clients. I live on the East Coast, but I know that I'll be able to, I serve clients all over. And that's really nice. I wasn't sure when I started my business because I needed it to be virtual because of potential moves with the Navy. I didn't know if I would, get local clients and then just take them with me whenever I moved. But it's kind of been a hybrid. I have local clients, but serve clients in many different states. So I already have that wide expanse even before the Navy started moving us around again. And yeah, really, really enjoy it. I am active here in the Hampton Roads area in kind of the small business community. I really love it. I went to business school, so definitely anyone who knows that, it's definitely like a generalist kind of a curriculum. So I'm not coming at this business from a deep accounting background. I've had to beef up on that. But my heart really is, accounting is kind of a means to an end for me to be able to serve those small business owners. I can talk about a whole lot more than accounting. I think that's one thing I do bring to the table. And I have people in my team that are those people who love accounting and who have the deep knowledge. And so it's kind of a hybrid where everyone does get me as like the face of, their main interaction. But if I, depending on how full my plate is, as we grow, I've been able to get help to serve my continually growing clients. So that's where we are. And I'm excited I love offering advice. I try to be, active on LinkedIn. I like staying up on industry topics and just help the small business owners succeed. And this is the perfect time where people are really needing help. So I'm glad to be a part of this conference.
So before we dive into the nitty gritties of what we're going to talk about today, I'm just kind of curious because one of the things I just was hearing was how you didn't start out virtual or remote working, that you worked more on that brick and mortar on the ground kind of businesses, but then shifted into that as your needs changed. Did you know before you moved into remote or virtual work? I mean, did you always have this dream of like, I want to have my own virtual business? Or was it something that more evolved as life evolved?
100% it evolved as life evolved. I would imagine every entrepreneur has had those moments. I don't know they ever go away where you kind of think, am I really, should I just go get a job?
Right.
And I'd be, people are lying if they say they don't have that. Because
Right.
just you're everything from the janitor to the banker, I mean, all of it. And
Everything.
It's stressful. And there are, you quickly are revealed stuff that you don't know, and you don't have that person to fall back on. Like you make every decision. And sometimes I do think that, I make a great employee. I tell a story that, my dream job whenever I was graduating from Baylor was to one day go back and be a chief of staff to Baylor's president. Whoever that president was going to be, 10 or 15 years later, coming back and be the chief of staff, which is not a real glory job. But I knew in my core, I would be so good at that job. I'm a perfect right hand. And that's not most people would say, well, that's not an entrepreneur's mentality. I've developed my entrepreneurial skill set, but at the same time, it's been really cool because the path I've chosen in my career is basically that right hand. And I'm proud of that. I'm not ashamed of that. I love, just like when I was 22, thinking, oh man, if I could just be the person behind the scenes to make that person shine and keep it all together. So they just have to go and do their one thing, but I'm juggling all the balls. That's kind of my personality. And I love being made this way. And so, yeah, it was life handed it to me. Every once in a while, I just still get that thought in my head, like, man, I'd make a great employee for someone, and I could go and be fantastic in a company. But I'm liking it. It's exciting. It's never boring.
Sure.
So right now, especially. Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about those people who are running an online business, or they want to shift their brick and mortar businesses to more of the online world and become more virtually savvy when it comes to things relevant to finances, bookkeeping, accounting, online, all that. Where would you start with someone like that? Say they just showed up and said, hey, Kate, I want to move all my bookkeeping stuff online. Where would you start with them? What would that look like?
Well, this current quarantine has kind of made us all do everything at once. I would say that's probably less than ideal. So if you have some time to slowly chip away and slowly build at it, I would take it one bite at a time because there's going to be learning as you are kind of building out your portfolio. So probably taking just like one function at a time. So if you've been doing payroll manually, maybe that's what you pick. And let's figure out how to take our payroll completely to the cloud. That might be one place to start. There are ways where, we're going to have, everyone has to track with, they're going to have an app on their phone. Maybe you have like a team of people that are kind of running around. I don't know there's all sorts of businesses. I don't know who's listening, but that could be one, like maybe pick a project. You definitely want to have your bookkeeping, like your record keeping, the place where you would go to say, how much money did I make this month? So your financial statement, I would just call it your bookkeeping software. That should definitely be moved to the cloud. I would imagine, I know you've said that your audience, Kate, is, they're not brand new business owners. Some might be, but there are also some experienced ones. So those people you've been keeping your records somehow. So if it's in an Excel file, that's going to be moved to the cloud. If it's in QuickBooks Desktop, that can be moved to the cloud because it's a lot cheaper to, have a remote access from not having to have all the programs that you would have to access QuickBooks Desktop remotely. It is possible to be done. So I don't want to, if you've got a really robust QuickBooks Desktop file, there are ways to do that. And I would hire a bookkeeper to consult on, are you a good candidate to moving to an online fully cloud-based software, or is it better to do like more of a remote using programs to get into your servers to access your file from home from wherever you are? That would be another thing. Like, get those records online. You're going to have your bank statements connected, so those connections will be extremely valuable, and then you can kind of build from there.
So, I at least in the beginning, one of my big principles, because running as a therapist and a coach, I still have to run a business. I was using the Excel spreadsheets and all of that, and recently shifted over to QuickBooks, and it's just incredibly amazing. It saves time. It's efficient. Talk a little bit about that from your perspective, because I think one of the things a lot of people worry about, especially maybe folks who are a little more of the old school kind of business, run a business, about that security piece. And actually we have a security specialist in our panel lineup too, which I'm excited about. But talk about the benefits of the cloud. Say a little more about why someone should move stuff to the cloud. What would be the purpose? If the Excel spreadsheet is working just fine, what would be a reason to motivate them to move things to the cloud and do some of this more virtually in that way?
So if you're going to be doing your bookkeeping yourself, so that there's two ways to think about it. Are you going to be building something where you're doing all the work, and maybe at the end of the year you give one report to a tax person? That's kind of one way to think about it. You might be able to get away with less cloud-based systems if that's how it's going to work. You would still want probably a cloud-based software, because if you're really doing your bookkeeping in Excel, you're not taking advantage of the efficiencies of you have your customer list that's invoices. So like I'm a business owner, right? So I have to invoice my customers. I do my invoices inside of QuickBooks. I don't even have to have an outside invoicing software. Now you might want one. It works for me, and my customers pay me. They get an email, they click pay, and truthfully, like I have returning customers, so you can even get online, written agreements where you have their bank information if they're online, if they're recurring clients, or their credit card information to automatically bill them on the first of every month, or whatever kind of relationship you have. And there's no way that Excel is doing that I don't even think about invoicing my clients. My clients get billed on the first of the month, and it goes out, and then like a couple days later, I get an email from QuickBooks saying money is on the way, and it just all happened. And the clients appreciate it too because they don't have to do anything.
Right.
It's happened. Everyone has clients that want to pay. Like I have to pay my kid's piano teacher, and I want to pay her so bad, and it is not easy to pay her. And I'm just like, can I just pay for like 3 months in advance because I know I'm going to mess this up because it's not in a good system.
Right.
And I have the money. I promise. I'm good for it. But sometimes I'm like, can I just mail a check? Because that would almost be easier than trying to figure out how to pay her because her system is not set up well. So yeah, again, for me, just my own personal example, I invoice everybody without having to think about it.
So
if I have to change an invoice, I go up there and I change it, and it saves and it recurs every month. So
it really,
that's an example.
It really helps with efficiency and kind of automation so that it takes something off of the table, that can just simply be automated and you don't have to put brain power to it.
Mm-hmm. You can efficiently categorize your transactions as well. So one of the things I do, even as a bookkeeper, you want to set those bank rules because some expenses, let's say, you're like, did I categorize that as advertising or a website? I don't remember. And I do that for my clients because I'm not going to remember because I'm serving so many. I don't remember like kind of where they wanted that categorized. So we are able to use the software to think for us in a lot of ways. I mean, the benefit of a bookkeeper is you have someone who's smart and able to check and kind of smell when something seems not right because it is just the software that's been created by humans. So you have to be thinking, but I love the efficiency of a good bookkeeper is going to be able to give you hours of time back that someone who's not experienced knows how to do.
So let me ask you this then. So if there are so many really wonderful automated online bookkeeping sorts of programs, is it necessary to still have a human bookkeeper?
So, some people say no. I find that the way that the true bookkeeping softwares are built in a concept called double entry accounting. And I do think that that's probably more advanced than, if you've had like your 2 accounting classes back in college, you're probably not going to remember that, and so lots of clients say, oh, I just kind of want you to like look at my books and, their profit and loss statement might look okay, but their balance sheet is, like they have been double counting invoices. So they think that they send an invoice and the way that they've coded it is that was like a sale. Then it also comes through when the deposit happens. And if you are recording that wrong, not matching it, but recording it as an independent transaction, then all that income is going to be double counted. And that's just, I just see it all the time that in some ways these softwares are almost so powerful unless you're willing to like put yourself through like a weekend boot camp of QuickBooks, which they have, or, really, really be disciplined in finding your favorite YouTuber and watching like soup to nuts. Here's kind of what QuickBooks does. But I think a lot of people are going to get excited about some of the things that QuickBooks says it does, but they can easily be misused.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So.
Absolutely. So it's still a really valuable thing to get some eyes on the books and make sure things are lining up and adding up. And, bookkeeping is so much more than just the entry. It's the bigger picture of all of it too.
Right. And so here's another thing. I would challenge everyone watching this. How often are you really paying attention to your bookkeeping? So most of my clients, I'm able to serve on a monthly basis. And at the end of the month, they get a video of me with my little face in the corner walking through their financial statements.
That's great.
And I try to pick out maybe about 5 or 6 bullets that I choose to zone in on, or that we in our relationship have decided like this is what it's important for my business, and it's different for every business. The only thing that's in common is like, what was my net income for the month? But other than that, we pick out some major things, look at for some discrepancies. Did something really go up? Why? Did something really go down? Why? And I find that most people are like, yeah, I can do this, but they're not doing it regularly. I think that's another benefit is just people who are really serious about their business realize that it's the financial data that will allow you to make strong decisions versus and almost be forward looking than just backward looking. And I think the average person who's doing their bookkeeping themselves, they're just not staying up on it. You got some type A people who really do, but otherwise people are just like, do I have money in the bank account? Okay. Yeah, I like to think of it as also helping when you're like, maybe with that first employee you want to hire. That's a nerve-wracking event. And no, I can tell you, like, this is the amount of money your cash flow is increasing every month. So you can do that. I think those wise eyes from someone who's seen multiple clients go through similar phases of business helps and is a valuable thing for a business owner to have.
So there's so many more questions I could ask about that, but I want to make sure we touch in on a couple of things you've shared with me as we've gotten to know each other and spoken. One is this idea that there's an app for that. There's an app for everything. Sure. Say a little more about that. I think that's such an important point to talk about a little bit because there really is. There's an app for everything. So share a little more about that.
So I wish I had the actual URL, but I mostly work in QuickBooks. This is not going to be only do QuickBooks. There are plenty of software that can help. But for instance, in QuickBooks, and I'm sorry I don't have the URL memorized, but when you go and just research it, they're going to have basically like a library of all these software developers who have built integrations. Some are better than others. Just like when you go to your phone and you want to download an app to like learn Spanish or whatever, like some are good, some are not. They're rated. I think a good bookkeeper will be able to advise you. There are definitely bad ones that don't connect as well as you think, or are more they're complicated to connect. But you would be able to search sort of in the library for what you need done. Is it time tracking because you have multiple employees running around town doing different things? Is it sort of project tracking? Do you need, what's an example? Expense reports. So maybe you have a lot of employees who are wanting to submit expense reports. So there's apps for that. You can think of payroll as kind of an app. Sure. I use mostly a company called Gusto, but QuickBooks has its own kind of internal ones as well. And, when my clients get paid on Gusto, I have built the integration. I mean, think of Gusto as an app, and it's like connecting so where those journal entries are going exactly right. The taxes go to the tax categories, the salaries go to the salary categories. And it's hard because I don't have like a specific business that I'm thinking of, but retail, there's Stripe connections. If you're in eBay, there's one called AX2 or A2X. Sorry, I get that mixed up. That's like for people who sell on Amazon. People have built it. Some of them you have to pay, a lot of them would be more like a monthly fee type of a thing. Sure. You can do bill pay. One of the great ones that you might think you would lose. So say you want to make sure like if you have an employees that you don't want the same person handling the money as the one approving the spending. Yeah. And so bill.com or Melio is another one where you can have like an approval system still. So in the old ways, in the brick and mortar days, maybe you had some bookkeeper or an assistant in your office, maybe write the bills, but then you had to sign them. You can still do that. You can literally still do that to where you get the email once the bookkeeper could create the bill, and then they yes, approve. And that way like, okay, she's not adding $10 to all these bills or whatever. Yeah. That's so those cool. Are just some apps.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just amazing the number of things that you can do virtually and in the cloud and the integrations. And, I think that's one of the important points that you've just made is that whatever bookkeeping or financial task, payroll, you name it, there's a way to do that online and to do that in the cloud. There's an integration, there's an app for that, for sure.
If I could add one more thing to that, just the thing about why a bookkeeper is valuable. So I'll give a quick example. So think of QuickBooks Online itself as almost like an app. just this week, QuickBooks came out with something where QuickBooks itself can fetch your bank statement. So if you took care of your books in the right way, you're supposed to reconcile your bookkeeping system to your bank account, and you would have to log on to QuickBooks and also log on to your bank account and get your statement. Just this week, the bank has added that connection. A bookkeeper, we're nerding out on all this industry knowledge. Like, this is what we do. It's what our friends do.
Yes.
It's the webinars we watch. And we're able to say, you're using this expense tracking app, or, you're using QuickBooks. Guess what? Here's something that, we're just constantly being able to add efficiencies where maybe you're using Expensify for your expense reports, and you don't know that, Expensify just really jacked up its prices because if you don't have the Expensify credit card. Like, I know that. I'm able to tell my clients that we might need to find another solution, or just know that we're going to start paying more. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, well, I guess they raised their prices. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
So that's another reason why Bookkeeper, we know what the apps do, and the apps are constantly improving. Yep. And you might get in a rut and not know that it can be even better.
Well, yeah. And that's such a key point, I think, because as an entrepreneur and a business owner, there's, like you said, we wear so many hats. There's so many different things that need to be done that there just may not be the time to go investigate why the rates have gone up or why something is not working anymore. And so having specialists like this as part of your team, it can really can increase efficiency, expertise, and things like that. I want to shift gears because I want to make sure we get some time to talk about this idea of fractional team building. It's, again, this is a paradigm that I believe, and I really loved kind of hearing those words from you, because it put words to something I've been seeing and recognizing how team building and hiring is changing. It's no longer about hiring these generalists who can do lots and lots of things, but because of virtual and remote work, we have the ability now to either project-based or contract work, or just, to hire these specialists that are industry specialists, area specialists, etc. So talk to us a little bit about fractional team building and how that might be relevant, at least in the world of bookkeeping and finances and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it works the same as, I guess, any kind of fraction of a person you can buy, where you're buying a graphic designer or a web developer. I mean, that's all just this idea of hiring an expert versus hiring one person that you're expecting to do your social media and your website and your bookkeeping and answer your phones. And so with the finance functions, you can, instead of having someone on payroll, you hire someone as a subcontractor. That's how, I serve my clients. They're not paying my other side of like Medicare and Social Security. I'm not on their payroll. They offer benefits. They're not paying any of that. I manage my own business, and I'm able to serve them. I'm an example of someone who doesn't do taxes. I think that people should hire people who are tax experts. Yep. That's a different function. And I have no desire to get into that role, but I partner with people who do. So I have some strong partners that I recommend, and that's worked really, really well. The tax people know that they're getting good books, so the clients are going to be, easy for them. And so here's an example of why it would be great. So if you're an attorney and you have trust accounting, like that is an incredibly complex animal. I would not take on an attorney client that had trust accounting. I have attorney clients, but they don't require the trust accounting. That's a niche of law, and it differs from state to state. And there are virtual bookkeepers, though, who serve those attorneys. And they'd be able, I'm not going to have to spend, 20 hours trying to like read obscure like accounting law about that. Go find that person who specializes in that if you have unique needs. Manufacturing is a great example of complex accounting. You want to know, you want to allocate the costs to your products properly. And that takes some skill. And there are people who specialize in manufacturing accounting. And so that's just an example of, really getting that niche expertise. The person who really is serving a niche, they're going to be able to tell you, hey, like my other coaches, they're not spending 80% on Facebook ads. So maybe that's part of the problem, because I have other people in this line of work, and obviously we maintain privacy, but
Sure.
people would be able to kind of see really behind the scenes of private companies and offer some big picture advice. And yeah, you can hire any, fractional controller, fractional CFO, whatever needs you have. There's someone out there who can serve you. And yeah, I think it's worth the time to pick that. It'll take you some time to identify that right person. You won't want to just pick the first person you interview, right. But get some recommendations. That's another. I strongly recommend that. But that's kind of my thought on why fractional help is really beneficial.
Well, and with the internet and remote and virtual, I mean, finding communities specific to these niches is so much easier now. And to, like you said, put the feelers out and do some interviewing and get some recommendations. It's kind of an exciting time. So if you were going to leave listeners with a single action today that they could take, what would you tell them? What would your suggestion be?
Oh, man.
Like one thing they could do to start the ball rolling for them if they, in terms of kind of considering moving things to the cloud, bookkeeping, et cetera.
So I know you were going to ask this question. So this is off the top of my head. I would think that if you don't have a pulse on your company financials on a monthly basis, like true company financials, the financials, the balance sheet, profit and loss, and cash flow statement, if you don't have that on a monthly basis, that would be a great short-term goal to figure out, what do I need to do to get that? Don't just keep winging it. Like, as long as I'm kind of paying my payroll, then I'll figure it all out at the end of the year. Don't let yourself stay there. Mm-hmm. And either you do it, you figure out how to wait. Like, okay, Monday mornings, I'm the morning person, right? So Monday mornings at 6 a.m., I'm gonna every Monday go through my transactions and categorize them, so I'm not going to get so far behind. And then at the month, I'm going to say, here's how much I made this month. And you'll, in the software, it's really cool. You could run all sorts of reports where this month to last month, this month to the same month last year, and just take a quick peek at the pulse. So that'll give you a good pulse of your company. So that's what I would say. If you don't know your three financial statements at every month, figure out what you need to do to get there. And I think your business that will wildly change and propel your business. If you need a virtual person to help you do that, find one. If not, then just figure out how to use the cloud to make sure it's easy for you to do that yourself.
So tell our listeners about your free gift and how they can find it.
Sure. So my website, heritagebusinessservices.com, go to /morning-challenge, Heritage Business Services /morning-challenge. And I know you'll, share that, Kate, yep. But I am going to give away a free book called My Morning Routine by Benjamin Spall and Michael Zander. And everyone else can just buy it on their own, but I'll give away one free copy. And then the Monday after this conference which will be the Monday is July 13th, we're going to start a 30-day challenge where we help each other check in at 6 a.m. in a small Facebook group, just hold each other accountable. And I'll be available to answer bookkeeping questions as well. Handling that part of your business would be a good thing to add to your morning routine. But there's all sorts of things to add. And I want to improve my own morning routine. I always do. And I think it's a great way for other entrepreneurs to do it as well. And so I'd love to have a little group together and give someone a free book.
That's great. Thank you so much. You've offered up so much value today in terms of your experiences and your advice and just how-tos around moving financial services to the cloud, pros and cons, building fractional teams, all of that good. You've given us a whole lot to think about. So thank you so much for being a part of the panel today.
Oh, I'm tickled to death.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch some of the other speakers.
Oh, yeah. Any final thoughts you want to add for our listeners before we wrap up?
No, just stay in touch, reach out. I love talking to small business owners. So tell me what you got going on. I'm available. I'm online. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Just stay in touch, and I would love to hear about your progress of your business.
So here's the scoop, folks. You are not going to want to miss any of the rest of the speaker series experts. We have just more incredible lineups of handpicked speakers and influencers who are at top of their game. And I mean it, folks. These really are top entrepreneurs, business owners, industry leaders in the world of online business, remote work. And here's the most important part. They're all teaching from experience, not just theory. So for those of you out there who might want lifetime access to these top leaders, be sure to check out and get your on-demand VIP all-access pass. will allow you 24/7 access to these top experts who are going to show you how to leverage and maximize your time, get the results you're looking for. And if you haven't already, make sure that you join the Facebook group. That way you can follow along in the conversation. You can also have access to all the free giveaways and prizes and really start to build your own team in your own community. So if you're really ready to make a giant leap forward in your business, be sure to join us again tomorrow as you continue learning about how to create this online business and get the results you're working so hard to achieve. So thanks for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.